Freemasons and Satanists. But here, the dungeons, you have to go inside to reach them. My memory tells me there were three different dungeons that I was taken to, with different setups for different torture. There may be more dungeons than that here, but as I said, I will only tell you what I know for sure, fact that comes from my memories, and I remember there to be three. The dungeons in Windsor Castle are kitted out for torture. There would always be a man and a woman in these dungeons, inflicting the torture. Always one of each, always a man and a woman. I was often chained onto a wall and left hanging. One dungeon is set up for that, where you are taken and there were big iron rings on the walls and iron things that went round the neck, and you would be put onto the wall and just left freely hanging. There was another dungeon that specialised in water torture. I think in the Western world, or in other worlds, we call it waterboarding. It's just torture. It's water torture. Water torture was always used when I was here. It was used to brainwash, which is why there was always a man and a woman, because the woman would play good cop, bad cop. Let's put it that way, okay? That's how they start brainwashing children to believe that you need to be rescued by the woman. My mother would be the one sitting at the head, stroking my face, telling me, there, mummy's here, while I was being tortured down the other end with hot red pokers. This is why they use a man and a woman. And there's a man and a woman that occupies each one of those dungeons. The water torture is mainly for brainwashing. They never, ever, ever want us to come out of there and speak, which is why there are so few survivors that can do this. I will be in trauma for days after doing this, but I will regret not 1 second of it.
True warrior! True warrior! Yeah! True warrior!
So the 3 different dungeons, 3 different types of torture. They were set up to make sure we were silenced forever. It didn't work. It didn't stop me, because now I'm back.
Yes!
Hunting games. Let me tell you how they play hunting games. Many children are brought in for this, van loads. In the 70s, they were brought in from children's homes. They were brought in from the satanic families, like the one that I grew up in. We would be held captive, I never know how long, days, hours, depending on when we arrived and when the games would begin. We would all be taken out of captivity, stripped naked. The only thing we were allowed to wear was a wristband. That wristband told the elites, the Satanists, whether they could kill us or they have to leave us alive. That was it. Each Satanist, royal family members, lords, elites of this country, some of them like to chase the children that they can kill, some of them like to chase the children that they left alive. Because I was raised in a satanic family, I got the wristband that said they were never allowed to kill me. Yeah, thank God for that. We would stand around. It was an automatic thing for the older children, and I classed myself, as the years went on, as an older child, so I would have been 6, 7, 8 years old. As an older child, we would then take the hands of the little ones. The little ones that were there, 3 years old, their first time being brought in for a hunting game. Stay on the pavement, guys. First time being brought in for a hunting game. Of course, they were terrified. They were already crying. Us older kids, we knew. We were trained by now. We never made a sound, ever. Not even through the worst torture. Most of that was controlled by drugs. We were drugged. But in hunting games, we just knew, do not make a sound. And we knew the little ones would get a worse treatment if they were noisy and crying. So we would hold their hands and try and offer some form of comfort. There would be a sound that would go off. It's the sound of a bugle. Guys, any of you that are listening that aren't with us today, please feel free to join us. You can come over and join us. If you stand with us, you stand with stopping satanic ritual abuse. And all you guys and women out there in your civil uniforms, this is exactly what you should be doing. Those people in there that you think you're protecting, they are killing the children. They have been doing it for hundreds of years.
Yes.
But this is where it stops. This is where they get exposed.
It's time.
It's time. It's time. So guys, if you want to come and join us and find the courage to stand up for the children in this world, you are more than welcome. So, we'd be given our wristbands, the older kids. We'd take the hands of the little kids who would be crying and breaking. And then we would wait. We would wait for the sound of the bugle. I think that's the same sound they sound when they go off on a fox hunt, isn't it? It's a hunting game. They don't just hunt foxes, they hunt children. The sound of the bugle meant we could run. Us older kids, we knew that it was futile. We knew there was no point. But the terror that runs through our veins, that makes your blood run cold, would send us running as fast as we could, holding the hands of the little ones, trying to save them from the terror that we knew was about to happen. The women would watch on. Seems it was a man's sport in there. The women would watch on and clap and cheer, whilst their men then chased us. Naked children with wristbands on. The women would watch on while their men hunted, raped and murdered the children. What I remember very clearly is the children with the wristbands like myself that were left alive. We were very, very few in comparison. We were probably 1 in 10. And my memory is that when the hunting games were over and the bugle sounded again, I knew that my orders, my instructions were to work my way back, walk back to where we started from. And I would have to walk over the dead bodies. The blood was everywhere. Some children that they murdered weren't quite dead, and they were left wriggling and suffering. They're the reason I'm back here. They're the ones that haven't got their voices. They're the ones that were silenced forever. And I just want to remind you about what I said at the beginning. If you think this is hard to hear, I want you to imagine what it's like for these children to live through. And if at the end of this, all you civil servants in your uniforms want to continue protecting them, then I hope it fucking haunts you in your nightmares.
Yeah, Mr. Bloody Smiler over there. Have you got children? You're a disgrace. You're a disgrace.
Okay, guys.
Disgrace.
Let's carry on. What I will tell you is this. I think that I think that most of the people here are parents. Are you fathers? Are you children? I want you to imagine if this was yours. Because just as it doesn't happen to you, it doesn't mean it doesn't matter. It matters.
It matters.
There are children in there now.
Every child matters.
Every child matters.
Every child matters.
And the world needs to know the truth.
Yes!
And it doesn't know the truth!
And if you are complying and you are complicit to keeping these secrets, then shame on you.
Shame on you! Shame on you! The truth coming out, and it ain't being held back.
The other events, so that's hunting games, guys. And like I say, my worst memories are when it was over. Because I can't feel the physical pain anymore about what happened to me when they captured me. But here's the thing, in hunting games, the comfort that we took, the older children, that all we would have to endure was just being raped by one person, one man. And in comparison, by what goes on in rituals, where we are raped by 10, 20, 30 people in the space of an evening, the hunting games was a fucking doddle. We weren't tortured in the hunting games. How horrific does it need to be that we could comfort ourselves with the very thought that, oh, we'll only be raped once by one person and then we'll be left alone? So the worst memories for me was watching the little ones, because they always had the wristbands. And I knew that how they were going to end up. And I knew that they were going to be the dead bodies on the floor with the blood pouring out of them that I would have to tread over in the end to get back to the starting line. So let me tell you about mass rituals that go on in there, behind those walls, at the hands of our royalty.
Satanic scum!
Many, many children are brought in for these mass rituals. The big events, Halloween coming up. So when you're out celebrating, if you're having Halloween parties, take a minute to think about what's going on with the children in here. Because it's horrific beyond your imagining. But you need to listen. Because the only way this is going to stop is if every single one of us stand up and make it stop.
Yes, like
Yes.
today. Yes, would be nice.
Many Satanists gather behind these walls on these big events. And like I said, Halloween's the next one. The next one after that will be Christmas Day. The next big one after that will be Easter. But trust me, there's stuff that goes on in between these dates continuously. Again, please come and join us, guys, if you're starting to feel like you want to protect children from what's going on in here. If you were in here and present with mass rituals, you would hear very, very loud chanting. Do you know why they start to chant? Because they worship Satan, which is why they're called Satanists, which is why this is called satanic ritual abuse.
The Black Planet, just like they wear black.
Yeah.
3 reasons.
Yeah.
Why judges wear black. Same reason. You're Satanists.
Loud chanting, blood drinking, A child will be laid out, they will be cut on the side of the throat, and they will bleed out. But before that child is cut and bled out, they will be tortured. They will be tortured and brought to a point of such heightened terror that their blood is adrenalised, filled with adrenaline. It's called adrenochrome. And every single one of these scum drink it. Every single one of these people drink it. And that's why they start to chant, because they start drinking the adrenalised blood. Please feel free to join us in the crowd if you want to, guys. Don't stand in the road.
Come over, guys, if you want to listen. Standing over there. We'll listen to the truth. It's about time you come out and listen to the truth in this world. You're being lied to. You've been lied to since day one. Your whole life has been a lie.
For me, a mass ritual would be, I would be held in captivity for 2 to 3 days beforehand. No food, no water, left naked, chained up in the cold. They called it a cleansing process. I would have tubes stuck down my throat and other parts of my body to flush me out. They wanted us as pure as possible because they believe that's what Satan wants. And then before the ritual, 2 to 3 days in, I would be drugged, injected, or given a drink that was a drug. And then I would be led out to these mass rituals in a white gown that they would put in on me right at the last minute. I'd be led out and I'd be laid out on a concrete slab. My legs would be taken apart and chained, and so would my arms. I would be watching other concrete slabs where children were being tortured and bloodletting, where they would be drinking. I was never the one that was killed, but believe me, there were many, many times where I begged for that to happen because it was far easier than staying alive and living through this. I would be the one on the concrete slab that then would be raped by every single person in the circle. The Satanists would come over one at a time and do whatever they wanted to do. Step back and the next person would come forward. These are mass rituals. This was my experience. This was what happened to me here. This is what happened to me in Buckingham Palace. It goes on in Balmoral. By our royals. The Queen was there.
Absolute twat. Scum.
John. Listen, guys, listen. Guys, I want...
For your children, don't stand there and smoke, because you're in the wrong place. This is for kids. And I'll tell you what, you've got to know the truth if you listen. There's about time you start realising you were kids once. And it's about time a lot of you might have been victims as well. You come and tell your truth. Do not live in fear no more. I'm telling you guys, this is the truth. Your eyes are your witness to your souls. When you look in your eyes, what do you see? Remember, do not sell your soul to the devil, because the devil found it to take it. If you think I'm lying, carry on doing what you do. You'll see. Well said,
Okay, guys, let's carry on. Do you know, I want you to take into account, some people are hearing this for the very first time. And no, of course it's unacceptable that people laugh about the murder, rape and torture of babies and children. Of course it's not okay. But people react in different ways. Some people will go home tonight and cry. Some people will have nightmares for weeks. Other people will kick into cognitive dissonance and they will push it away. This is why I plead with people to find the courage to know the truth. Because this is what I said right at the beginning. Imagine what it's like to actually go through this. I know it's horrific to hear if it is your first time and I know there's a defence mechanism that happens. It's okay, I forgive you. But let me tell you, take some time when you leave here today to think about the children, because this didn't happen to me. This happens all over the world. This has been happening for decades and decades, and it is still going on now. So many hundreds of thousands of children go missing every single year. And our civil servants will be able to vouch for this, because it's not on the mainstream, is it? It doesn't get out there. Over 100,000 children went missing in the UK alone last year. Did you hear about all them? No, it gets buried. Where do you think they go? In there. And all the other estates, crown estates, satanic cults take the children. They send people out with shopping lists, and you can see it up in the ante now. Your white vans, your black vans with your blacked out windows. You will see it. They are snatching children off the street. Why isn't it on mainstream media every single night? Why? Why is there a cover-up?
It's always covered up. The reason why they cover up is they don't want the truth coming out. No reason to get the media and the news enough all these missing children. Think about it, guys. Last year alone, 178,000 children missing in the UK. Where's the bodies? Why have no one heard about it? The world, 8 million in the world. There's 22,000 children missing every day. In the world. Where are they going? By the bodies landing Canada, the shallow graves. Right? There's a lot more going on than you know.
When the world truly knows what is the truth, then it will get stopped. But you have to find the courage. And we need our civil servants. We need people to stand by us. We need people to stop protecting what is going on in there. Rituals, mass rituals, I would witness again. Whether they were water rituals, I would witness many